The guy's like, fuck you.
I know. She was rumored to be a Satanist. That and
Oh, lovely.
Demonologist. That is a sick title.
That's like a cool title.
That is. I don't have Siri activated on my phone.
That's-
Look. Watch. Hey Siri. Hey Siri. Oh, it is activated. That is weird. Okay, so you've got a presentation coming from 89952jaw/849 today. Hello everyone.
Yeah,
That is me. Welcome. I really need to change my bloody Zoom name.
Zoom name.
Okay, so our PowerPoint today is on The Conjuring real story, like the true story. The Conjuring is actually based on the Perron family who lived in this house that you see on the top right. This image is actually an image from when the original homeowners lived there, and it will come up again later on in the PowerPoint, so just remember that image top right. Bottom left, we have the Perron family. It consisted of the wife, husband, and their 5 daughters. And the thing that I found really interesting about this story is obviously the daughters are still alive to this day. So there's so many interviews out there and like all of their stories and everything like that. Like I just found that really interesting because you don't really get to hear that, you know, with stuff like in the 70s of like the hauntings. I'm sure many of you are aware of the film Conjuring. Are you aware of it, Rhianna?
Yeah.
So The Conjuring was released in 2013 and it was actually really well praised when it was released. It portrays a demonic haunting of an innocent family in Rhode Island, and that family is based on, like exactly based on the Perron family, and they lived in Rhode Island. Most of the viewers assumed that the movie was nothing but the wild imaginings of the director James Wan. However, the true story of The Conjuring is actually rooted in the horrifying true experience of Ed and Lorraine Warren. So Ed and Lorraine Warren are paranormal investigators. You might know them, question mark?
Yeah, I know of them.
Yeah. So they're the 2 people that originally went to the home of the Perrons and like investigated it. So you can hear all their stories as well. So the Perron family, this is the main family the film is based on. The film is based on them so exact. The family actually were part in making the film and like helping with the actors and stuff like that, and to make sure it was as true as it could possibly be. In January 1971, the Perron family moved into 14-room farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, where Caroline, Roger, and their 5 daughters began to notice strange things. It started small. Caroline would notice that the broom went missing or seemed to move from place to place on its own. She would hear the sound of something scraping against a kettle in the kitchen. When no one was in there, she'd find small piles of dirt in the center of a newly cleaned kitchen floor. Yeah.
The guy's like, fuck you.
I know. I literally. I've added in here something I found fascinating. I found a Q&A where they interviewed the oldest daughter and the youngest daughter. Again, the 2 that experienced the most things. The interviewer said, "What were some of the other scary things that happened to you?" And Cynthia said, "One of the scariest things that happened to me was my bed levitating and moving all over the room. That happened when Andrea went to college and I moved into her bedroom. At first it just started ever so slightly and I wasn't even sure I was feeling what I was feeling. But then the day that it moved all over the room, I became furious with my mother. I ran downstairs and said, 'You didn't hear me screaming? You didn't hear my bed moving all over the room?' I was screaming, but the house somehow had a way of kind of bubbling your scream. There were times that we would be upstairs screaming our lungs out, that the person right downstairs below of us would not hear a word." How creepy is that? That is so creepy. And the thing is as well, this is a family of 7, you know? This is like 7 different people's stories. This isn't just the mum story or the older sister or anything like that. This is 7 different people's stories. If you've watched The Conjuring, a very like memorable scene in the movie is the hide and clap scene. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that one.
So it's
that was a spooky one.
Yeah, so it's really spooky. So basically, if you haven't watched it, I was going to add it in here, but it's really scary, so I didn't want to add it in here. But basically, what happens is, I believe the mother is portrayed in the movie, but she kind of is following this noise of like a clap. And she follows the noise, and then like the basement door opens, and so on. It's really scary because it's just a very realistic scene. But this is what happened in real life. So this is what the scene is actually based on, like a true story. So Cynthia said, "We play hide and seek, but really crazy things happened when we played hide and seek. About 6 months after we moved into the house, we really started playing hide and seek. And when it had warmed up, it was cold when we moved in. 6 months later, it was hot. I was hiding out in the woodshed, and my big bright idea was to climb in this wood box. But the wood box had no latch on it. It just lifted up the lid. No latch, nothing. So she couldn't get trapped in it or anything like that, you know? So I hid in there, but nobody ever came to find me. And I was like, okay, well, they're not going to come to get me. And I shoved up to get out of the box. It wouldn't open. And I was pushing and pushing and pushing. And I started to get really scared and panicked. I'm kicking and pushing and screaming, and nobody can hear me. And finally, after 20 minutes of this, I basically gave up. And then her sister replies saying she was literally suffocating. There was no air holes in there. It was solid oak. And Cynthia replies with, I didn't know what else to do. Then my sister Nancy came in, and the next thing I know, she just lifted up the lid. I was sobbing and soaking, wet with sweat. So she knew I'd been in there for quite some time, but she just pulled it open. She just pulled me out. I couldn't breathe. It was really bad. So it was like someone had shut her in the box.
That's horrible. Like, it was sitting on the lid.
Even though there's like no like latch on it, nothing, like, yeah, creepy as hell. And this is coming from the literal children that lived there. This is a story about when the family visited the set of The Conjuring. So as I said before, obviously the family was still alive when the movie was getting made. So they visited the set, and you might have heard of this story because it was actually, I remember hearing this in school, like this story be told. So the interviewer asked, is it true that something happened to you when you visited the set of The Conjuring? Cynthia replied, yes, my mother fell and broke her hip. Andrea, one of the other sisters, said, all of us were going to go, but the last minute she changed her mind. I'm like, how can you not be here? This is a big deal. She said, nope, I'm not going there. It's too long of a trip. I can't handle it. So she bailed out last minute. We went out to the set and everybody was so kind and gracious to us. And in the afternoon, they asked if we would grant family interviews. So we said, yes, absolutely, no problem. So they set everything up. We were probably an hour and a half into the interview, and all of a sudden, this rogue wind swept over us. The cameras went flying, the screens went flying, the microphones went flying, the booms went flying, our hair went flying, everything. They were grabbing their cameras, grabbing their equipment. It was like a 70-mile-per-hour wind. And I looked around, and there were no trees moving, nothing. There was nothing going on the set, anywhere else on the set. I leaned forward and looked down to my sister, Chris. I said, Bathsheba comes up, okay? She's the main haunter of the house when they lived there. I looked at my sister and said, Bathsheba curse. She said, yes. At the time, my mother fell and broke her hip. We got the message several hours later because, of course, we couldn't use cell phones or anything on set. A message got through to us late that day that Mum had fallen and broken her hip. Well, while we were out there, we got back to the hotel, at which point the doctor said, her surgery bill will be in the morning, get some sleep. We headed out at the crack of dawn and walked up to the hospital when she came out of surgery. She was still not anything close to lucid. She was utterly sedated, coming right out of recovery, and all 5 of her daughters walked into that room. The nurses were in there, her doctor was in there, and she sat bolt upright in bed, looked at me directly in the eyes and said, Bathsheba curse. She does not want to be exposed. And then she laid back down and she slept through until the next day. We didn't have any more communication with her. So this is a real story. This is a genuine real story.
Do you think that they've been like cursed by something? Like the whole family?
Yeah. So we'll get into the, you know, the like who Bathsheba is.
Little curse.
Yeah.
A small curse.
So we're going back to the family living in the house, the Perona family. This bottom right image is an image of the Perona family. We've got the mum, the dad, and the 5 siblings. The girls began to notice spirits around the house. Though for the most part they were harmless, there were a few, however, that were angry. Caroline allegedly researched the history of the home and discovered that the same family for 8 generations had lived there. So this family had not been owned by any other family. There was 8 generations living there before them. And so many of them had died under mysterious and horrible circumstances. Several of the children had drowned in a nearby creek, one was murdered, and a few of them, you know, not very nice things happened. This spirit, Bathsheba, was the worst of them all. So before this, the family would like smell stuff, and you know, it wouldn't really be.
Is she the one in the film that's like the old lady?
Yes,
She's the creepiest fucking one in the film, definitely.
That's exactly her. That's exactly her. And I've looked a lot into her because she's really interesting to look into. You can actually visit her real grave to this day.
Wait, so it's a real person?
Yeah, it's a real person. Yeah,
It was a real person.
It was a real person. Yeah, obviously she's very dead now.
Clearly, she's not that dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking haunting shit.
True. So yeah, this Bathsheba, whoever the spirit was, she perceived herself to be the mistress of the house, and she resented the competition my mother posed for that position, said the older sister. It turns out she was actually a real person named Bathsheba Sherman, who lived on the Perrone's property in the mid-1800s. She was rumored to be a Satanist.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I know. The stories of why she was rumored to be that are weird as hell. And there was evidence that she had been involved in the death of a neighbor's child. Through no trial ever took place. She was buried in a nearby Baptist cemetery in downtown Harrisville. So one of the things, I don't know if I added it in here actually, but yeah, this, again, you know this image that I said we'd go back to? So they believe that this could actually be Bathsheba, and she's wearing a surgical mask in the image, which is really weird, yeah. So she's just like out on this farm. This is the house. This is the exact house in the background. And yeah, they believe this to be Bathsheba here. But one of the stories that I heard about, so you know they said that they believed her to be a Satanist. One of the
I just had foreshadowing.
Oh my god. So one of the stories was that she got a needle and hurt like someone. And this was like a noted thing that was actually like in the documents of like, you know, the hospitals and everything back in their times. And one thing that happened to the mother Caroline Perrone in the house was when this spirit came in, she looked down and it looked like a needle had been stuck into her leg and was like bleeding. I know. Creepy. According to Andrea, the family experienced other spirits as well that smelled like rotting flesh and would cause beds to rise, as we heard earlier. She claims her father would enter the basement and feel a cold, stinking presence behind him. They often stayed away from the dirt-floored cellar, but the heating equipment would often fail mysteriously, causing Roger to venture down. Over the 10 years that the family lived in the house, the Warrens made multiple trips to investigate. At one point, Lorraine conducted a seance to attempt to contact the spirits that were possessing the family. During the seance, Caroline Perrone became possessed, speaking in tongues and rising to the ground in her chair. And one of the children, to this day, said they witnessed that. The children weren't meant to be there, but one, I think it was the eldest. Yeah, I think it was the eldest said that she, like, obviously
snuck down and was like...
Yeah, didn't stay in her room. She, like, snuck down and, like, tried to check it out. But yeah, this is Ed and Lorraine. So, these are the two people that you will see in the movie and everything. Ed was a World War II veteran, former police officer, who became a self-professed demonologist after studying Demonologist, that's the one, that makes sense. Demonologist, that is a sick title.
That's a cool title.
You should have that, you should take that. After studying the subject on his own, his wife Lorraine claimed that she was a clairvoyant and a medium who was capable of communicating with demons that Ed discovered. What a good duo. That's a good duo right there.
Dynamic duo.
In 1952, Ed and Lorraine founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. They quickly gained notoriety as
notoriety.
As,
yeah, it's a weird word. That's a weird word.
It is a weird word. Their two most famous cases, however, were heavily popularized by the Conjuring franchise. A series of the movie focuses on Ed and Lorraine's experiences. An exorcism. My Siri just turned on, and that's weird as fuck, because I don't have my Siri active on my phone. And my Siri...
I don't know how to respond to that.
It's Bathsheba.
that is I don't have Siri activated on my phone. Look, watch. Hey Siri. Oh, it is activated. That is weird.
Okay, maybe it is.
Okay, that makes me feel better. That I've never activated it though. The movie seemed over dramatized and impossible to believe, but the Warrens maintained that all of the events in the movie transpired, so that they were all real. And also the family say that the movie was kind of simplified, and it was less scary because the director wanted it to be a like lower rating so more people could view it. So the movie is actually not as scary as what they experienced, is what the actual family say.
I feel like it's never going to be as scary as what you experienced.
Yeah,
because like
yeah,
it's not happening to you.
So this is Lorraine, our good pal Lorraine. Obviously she owns a museum where she keeps a lot of artifacts. Now, I just want to point something out here. There's a lot of people that obviously speculate Lorraine and her husband Ed, because every story that they have covered, the family have been poor. So what people think... So what people think is that these two couples go to poor families, offer them money to tell stories or something. But I just the thing that I don't get with that is,
aren't they losing money by doing that?
Yeah, and also, well, I can imagine The Conjuring would pay very well, but also everyone in the family would have to be such a good actor. I could not sit there for what, 80 years of my life, well, I don't know, you know, however long you live for, like if one of those kids was 10 years old, and keep up that...
I'll keep the ruse going.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
And this is like a lot of money, like, yeah, no. I doubt they would like keep someone on the payroll for that long just to keep it, like...
Right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to show you her museum, okay? Because so this is her house right here. This is where she lives. This is her and her husband Ed, and this is the museum. How creepy could she have made it? So she says that everything in here is taken from like some kind of very, very dark story.
What the fuck? No, I want that in my room.
I know, right? I just thought it's so interesting. Like, look at it. This is how I imagine your room to be like.
I wish my room was like this.
This is the house to this day. The interesting story is the Perones moved out. I can't remember what year it was. And a single lady moved in after. And she's lived there for about 8 years and said she hasn't experienced anything. Nothing. In fact, she's had interviews where she said, there is nothing in this house. I have not experienced anything. But we go on to the present day, and it's been bought again by a couple. They believe they do experience stuff. And they are going to try and document it and record it and stuff.
He just doesn't like families, whatever.
Yeah, the Heisens own it right now. And this is them in front of it. They said they have witnessed footsteps, knocks, and we've had lights flashing in rooms. When I say lights flashing in rooms, it's rooms that don't have lights in there to begin with, the Heisens told the New York Post.
What?
We've had a few moments in here that have made us jump a bit, he adds. We've had doors open on their own, footsteps, disembodied voices, an electronic voice, phenomena. Phenomena. And some awesome spirit box sessions. I would love to, like, watch that. Them in the house doing the spirit box sessions. But that is my, PowerPoint, everyone.
Claps,
Thank you.
claps for G.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Very good.